Well, I want to take you back to January. January is a time when families separated by state borders. We had vaccine mandates and lockdowns. 262 days of lockdown if you were in Melbourne. And at the same time, unvaccinated tennis star Novak Djokovic flew into the country to play in the Aussie Open. He was deported and banned from returning for 3 years. Now, around that same time, Melbourne man John Delahunty's wife, Rosemary, was dying of pancreatic cancer. She wasn't allowed any visitors in the hospital. He played by the rules, and now he wants Novak Djokovic to do the same. John joins us now. John, really appreciate your time this morning. There's been a whole lot of debate over the last couple of days because Novak Djokovic wants to return for the Australian Open. How do you feel about that?
Good morning, Ellie. Thanks for this opportunity. It really upsets me, and not just for me and what my wife and I went through with all the restrictions in lockdown, but also for all the other millions of Australians who actually had to sacrifice and had to do things that they didn't enjoy, but we played by the rules. We did as the government and the authorities asked us to do. And for my wife to be in hospital and only be allowed one visitor, not to be able to see any other members of the family or her friends, both here in Melbourne and Adelaide, and yet we have one other person now who thinks that they should be given special treatment. And it really upsets me because we did as we were asked. We suffered, and we're still suffering now. So I just want to ask Prime Minister Albanese and the Immigration Minister, Andrew Giles, to say no, all Australians must be treated fairly and equally. We did our bit, and we expect Djokovic to be treated the same way, and that is equally and fairly like everyone else, and not given special treatment.
See, I mean, John, and I think, you know, we've all been pretty quick. We've wanted to move on from COVID. We wanted to get past it, sort of, in a way, almost pretend it hasn't happened. But, you know, when you talk about this, that time was so very real and damaging, wasn't it?
It was, Ellie. You know, to be subjected to strict conditions and rules about seeing Rosemary, and I'm not the only one. Hundreds of thousands, if not millions of other people in this country had to do the same thing. And some people say, look, it's time to move on. Well, time hasn't moved on for me and for all the other people who are suffering. So how now can the government expect people to do the right thing when they ask us to do things that are not popular, that we don't want to do, and then later on down the track say, well, the pandemic's passed now, we'll make a special exemption for other people just because you're rich and you're famous.
John, I mean, I think at the time, I mean, he ended up being booted out of the country, and things have moved on now. You don't have to be vaccinated if you want to be back in the classroom. You only have to be vaccinated if you work with aged care and health. Has he not already paid the price and been kicked out of the country? Should he not be allowed back in January?
No, I disagree, Ellie.
Yep.
He knew at the time, he had smart people behind him. He rolled the dice, he appealed to the minister, it was rejected. He appealed knowing that if it was rejected and he was told to leave the country, there'd be a 3-year suspension, that he couldn't come back into the country. And all I ask the Prime Minister and the Immigration Minister is to stand by those rules that they made at the time. Because how can they expect ordinary, everyday Australians to abide by the rules next time when something like this happens again? And I'm not against Djokovic. I love the tennis and I love watching him play.
Yep.
But everyone has to be treated the same, and no special treatment for one man.
John, I understand why you have such strong feelings around this, and I'm so sorry about the loss of your wife, Rosemary. Thanks for joining us this morning. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ellie. Thank you very much.